Welcome to another episode of Chicas and Chai. We're so happy you're here. Make sure to follow us on all our platforms. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as Chicas and Chai. Follow us on Instagram at Chicas and Chai Podcast. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. Before we get into the conversation, I do want to start off by just kind of seeing how you're feeling, Summer. I know that there's been a lot of things going on at home with having a little boy and all of the chaos and love that comes with that. I know last time I saw your baby boy, he was so cute. He had all these words. He actually knows how to say agua, which is like super adorable. How are you guys doing? How is everything?
We're good. He's good. He's doing well. He goes to this early education learning center. So he's picking up sign language, obviously, English and Spanish. And so we're so just in nonstop all of his learning and just kind of how he's growing. I feel like it was just yesterday that I found out I was pregnant and I was so ecstatic, yet so confused because it just hits you all of a sudden and you have this realization that you're going from being a woman and a wife to a mom. And I've always wanted to be a mom. So I was so ecstatic and I can't believe that he's about to be two. Like they grow up so fast. It's crazy.
I remember when you weren't a mama, and then the transition that has happened has been pretty significant. I want you to take us on this journey that you've been on motherhood, postpartum, everything that you have experienced as someone that doesn't have a baby or hasn't experienced that level of motherhood or any of that, right? You hear things. And so I would just want you to be open with us and open to anyone out there that can agree with you on a lot of things that you may say, but also those that are curious.
Just I found out I was pregnant and things just got rolling really fast because as you know, I ended up moving when I was 4 months pregnant. We moved from Virginia to Texas. And so that was quite a ride because I had never expected to be pregnant and then go through motherhood without my mother with me. Oh my God, this is going to be a really emotional episode. Thank God for technology. My parents get to FaceTime my son every single day and us. And so we're all in the loop, but it's just not the same, right? So I was 4 months pregnant, ended up moving to this new city, had no friends. And finally, I downloaded the Peanut app. And I'm so grateful to that app. Like, shout out to you, Peanut, because I found some incredible women through that app and people that really became what we talk about being a village to an extent here because I needed that. And I'm so glad that I found that here.
You got a little emotional. Let's take a step back and talk about that a little bit. That point of once you had your baby, postpartum, how was it? Because we've talked about us being so close to our family. So how was that being away from them? How did you experience that, and what would you do different in the future?
I was so in awe of my son and everything he would do, the slightest yawn, movement, and just the cutest little things. But I mean, it was an incredibly hard time for me. I had my mom for maybe 4 or 5 days and she had to go back because of work. My grandmother was here for about a month, but she's elderly. So she could cook, help here and there with the baby as far as watching him for a few minutes if I wanted to run in the shower or something like that. But it's really a challenging time for so many women. And I didn't realize everything that you go through. And I'm so glad that we live in a time where people are so open to talk about the challenges that come with postpartum, but you still don't know how it's going to go for you till you're in it. Like it's not just even recovering physically. There's a huge emotional and mental shift as well. Your body is healing from childbirth. At the same time, you're adjusting to life with a newborn with little to no sleep. And then there's this pressure on women to just bounce back and feel like yourself again. But reality is you're a different person now. And it's so hard for people to understand that. So now you also have to learn to set boundaries with your families and friends and people that you love. And that causes a whole different other mental pressure because people aren't understanding sometimes. But your hormones are just all over the place. And I think a lot of people go through postpartum depression or experience the baby blues. I don't think that I went through postpartum depression, but I definitely had baby blues. I would get upset easily. I couldn't sleep at night. I cried a lot. I had a lot of anxiety about something happening to my baby or him being underfed, not cared for well because I couldn't understand his cries immediately. I was beating myself up like, what kind of mother are you? You don't understand what he's crying for, but it's only day two with this human. So it took me time to understand. Then I finally got to a point where I could understand each of his cries and was giving him what he needed before he even cried or asked for it. So I think it comes with giving yourself a lot of grace, looking back at something I would never do to myself again.
Wow, yeah, there is a lot to unpack there. So I wanted to touch on one thing that you mentioned, and that is that postpartum pretty much hits you, and it's not really talked about until recently. And I can agree with you on that. I feel like I see it a lot on social media now. Like moms are being very open about this. I feel like the conversation was always like the hardest part is the delivery. It's the pregnancy. But tell us, what was the difference in difficulty, right? You're carrying your baby, you're going through all these things, emotions, and then you deliver. Now, is the hardest part after delivery, or what would you
Yeah.
say to that?
I feel like even young adulthood, my biggest fear was giving birth. Like the whole act of it used to just scare me. But in that moment, it was the easiest thing ever. Like pregnancy was difficult. I had some really bad morning sickness and I put on weight. So my body was hurting and I was nauseous all the time. I just didn't want to go out, didn't want to do things. I was always out of it. Then I moved, I started a new job. Just pregnancy was very a difficult time for me, but also beautiful, but came with its challenges. Delivery, I mean, I was in labor for like 46 hours, but I had the baby in 20 minutes. And these are things that you don't even realize, like that there's a difference. Like I found all this out in that moment in the hospital. Definitely not the way they show in movies. Postpartum for me was more difficult in the beginning because I just had so much going on. I had moved to a new state. We bought a house. We moved just 1 week after my son was born. My husband had to go back to work after 2 weeks. I was left to unpack and organize this whole new house on my own, basically, while managing a newborn alone. 6 weeks later, I had to go back to work because I started a new job and I didn't qualify for FMLA or parental leave, which is a whole other freaking topic because we were already having financial constraints that comes with having a baby and having a new home and just everything going on. I literally could not afford to sit at home for more than 6 weeks. So I had to go back to work and I didn't get a nanny. I honestly just couldn't trust my baby at that time with anyone else but me. And so I was working from home, caring for him all day, cooking, cleaning, household chores so that when my husband comes home, he can spend time with the baby and not have to worry about household chores after spending the day at work. And it really took a toll on me. I was so burnt out. I was so exhausted all the time. Can you imagine? You know me, I'm someone that is so about her skincare routine and getting things situated every morning and taking my time. And all of a sudden, my whole life changed. And I wasn't even able to go take a break for 5 minutes, shower, brush my hair, sometimes even take the time out to brush my teeth till my husband got home at 6 p.m. Like it was constant running on fumes. And I look back and I think how much I was struggling, but I just kept going and going till I got out of that phase. And I was like, damn, how did I do that? But when I was in that grind, I didn't know when I was going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And now it feels like so long ago. I don't even remember how I used to do that or what that felt like.
Oh my gosh. Sounds like you did what you had to do. And I'm just really proud of you. I feel for you. I don't even know what to say. I that you took me back how you felt certain ways and you were hard on yourself and you wish you had given yourself grace. What do you think? Is that what mom guilt was like? Or can you tell us how that looks like and how it looks like now if it's still there?
Yeah, mom guilt definitely, I think, is what was happening, has gotten a little bit worse as he's gotten older. But I'll tell you why. It's because I am so much more cognizant of his emotions now. Whereas I feel like back in the day when he was just a baby, it wasn't so difficult to leave him with a nanny for a few hours, but now I can see the look on his face. He wants to go with us. He wants to be where we are. And he is so small that he doesn't probably even understand that is my mom and dad coming back or not. And then that throws me into a whirlwind because I'm like, oh my God, is he going to start having abandonment issues? Is this going to mess him up emotionally? Is he going to hate me for this? If I come back and we went to brunch or something and he's not in a good mood, I get so tense. I think that it's because I left him and now he's acting out. I feel like mom guilt is just such a struggle. It's so hard to shake off that feeling that you're not doing enough. It took me so long to even start going to get my nails done, get my eyebrows done, going to the gym without feeling like I'm a terrible mother. And I finally started to let go of that guilt about a year ago and give myself some grace and realize that I'm doing the best that I can. And society puts so much pressure on moms and puts this guilt on them. It's just like a never ending cycle, right? I'll get out of the guilt. Someone will make a comment or do something or say something that then puts me back in the guilt. And then I'm fighting to get out of the guilt. And sometimes I feel like it's just going to be impossible to break free from this cycle.
Yeah, that sounds really hard. There's a debate of whether mom guilt looks like dad guilt. Does dad guilt exist to the level of mom guilt, in your opinion?
No, I
Well,
genuinely do not think that my husband will ever understand how my mind and heart works as a mother. He is an amazing father, an incredible life partner, but he does not have the same intense feelings of guilt that I experience. And I truly think that there is some different kind of attachment and a very deep bond between a mother and a child. The baby is literally a physical part of you. I don't think anyone can comprehend those feelings unless you are a mother. It is so intense. And I'll give you an example. My husband, he's like, okay, let's go to the gym on a Saturday and we'll drop off my son in the gym daycare for an hour. And the minute we drop him off, I mean, he starts crying and he gets so upset. And so then I'm like, no, I can't work out. I can't leave him here. He's like, no, no, it's okay. He's just going to cry for 5 or 6 minutes and then he'll be happy here. And I'm like, I think there's a true difference between him becoming happy and then just adapting to the situation. But like, he doesn't see it that way. Yes, when we come back, he's finger painting, he's playing with the other kids, but he runs to me. It just shows me that he's ready to get the hell out of there. I just can't do it. But for my husband, it's like, no biggie. Not that he's being a bad dad or anything. He just thinks, oh, maybe I'm being overprotective or I'm being micromanaging. But I can't explain to him how my heart literally physically wrenches when I can feel his emotions. And I don't think that happens to dads.
oh my gosh. The way you worded that, wow. I just don't think that there is a level of nurture that we as women have naturally, level that I just think, like you said, it's just not there for men. And I can't imagine like the way that it would look like, at least for us when we get there, if we get there.
So it's so interesting that people say, oh, there's
Mhm.
scientific research that when a baby leaves the mom's body, there's still fragments left in the mom. And that makes total sense to me. And I just think that there is such a special bond and a natural relationship between a mother and a child that no one else can really understand that emotion. And that's not to say that my husband or dads are being bad. They're literally just built different.
And I think you're saying it perfectly, Summer. I really do. And so I'm curious, you're saying, there's so many things to this. You feel bad when you leave him and you're trying to work out with your husband. How do you do the balance? What has worked in the practice of trying to be an individual, be a mom, be a wife, and making it all work?
I think that with every stage of motherhood, you have to pivot and you have to refine what works for you. I feel like I have in the past 2 years built myself up and then broken down and rebuilt a new version so many times because every stage of motherhood and childhood requires a different version of me. So the first 7 months, I was just not paying attention to my health, just focusing on him, completely on him. Come the time where he started crawling and starting to even walk, he had a lot of energy. And I realized that I wasn't taking care of my health or myself. So I didn't have much G. I felt like I wasn't being as active as I should. Maybe again, mom guilt kicked in. So I tried to balance myself. So I started taking care of myself in that way. And I think that helped a lot with like my mental health and you take care of your physical health and you start going out and doing things. I started getting my eyebrows done again, went to go get my nails done. I started hitting up my girlfriends to go grab a drink, like enjoy a Sunday fun day brunch. and started doing things that made me feel a bit more connected with myself rather than just this whole identity as a mom. I think that all the pieces of me that I had lost over time, like a puzzle, these fragments started coming together, and I ended up building a whole new version of me so that I could fill up my own cup to then fill up his cup. Because I don't want to be that empty cup, super exhausted, always angry kind of mom for him. I really don't. And I also just, yeah, with the balance, I feel like it's harder for moms. Dads can do a lot more balance, and society just has such a double standard when it comes to mom and dads. I mean, I could do a whole spiel on this another day.
We've seen each other here and there since you've had a baby, now a toddler. And so I do feel, even for myself, I've seen that growth. I've seen that at the beginning, you were very busy. And now I love that you are trying to things for yourself. I think that's so important. And that's the part of freedom that you shouldn't let go of, because that is something that you're not going to be a good mom, a good wife, a good person if you're not able to have those things that make you happy in your life. So I'm really happy for you. And so we went to one of your relatives' wedding this summer and we had such a good time. I was the one who had to call it an early night because I wasn't feeling well, but you were balancing or delegating things, and you were the maid of honor. You had so much going on, but I really admire how you are constantly defying societal expectations, and you can be a great mom and you can also have fun.
Thank you. I love you so much. I remember the next morning, I was like venting to you because I had so much frustration. And this is such a common societal issue. I thought it was just my culture where it's such a patriarchal society. But even living here now, being a mom, I'm seeing that it's not just a cultural thing. Society has such a double standard at the way that they applaud dads. I believe that dads should be celebrated. They definitely deserve credit. They are just as important. A child needs both parents do their part. But the way society hypes up and applauds dads to do the most basic things while moms are expected to do them without any recognition creates such a divide, and it's so frustrating. So at my cousin's wedding, I'm the maid of honor. It's the first time that I'm not the one running around my son. Like I said, mom guilt, I tried to let go of it. Even my own mom was like, you better not be running around in your maid of honor outfit trying to feed him food. Everyone is there to take care of him. So I took the break. But then, as you have it, society, whether it was other family members or friends, people kept commenting to me and coming to me and telling me how grateful I should be that I have such a wonderful husband that was running around my child, taking care of my son. Um, and to me, that was so frustrating and dismissing, not because I'm not grateful for him. I am grateful, but the fact that people were coming up to me and highlighting the fact that he was just standing over him, feeding him dinner, went to go change him for a diaper, took him out if he was screaming during a speech, basic things. I get so upset because if I was at his cousin's wedding and if or anywhere, and I was the one doing the things that he was doing, changing his diaper, feeding him food, running around after him, would anyone go up to my husband and say, wow, you should be so grateful that you have such a wonderful wife or a mother? No one is going to. That double standard kills me. And so again, I thought it was a cultural thing, but then we come back here. My son wasn't feeling the best and I was super sick too. So my husband took my son to the doctor. My husband comes home and tells me I was weirded out myself because all the nurses were hyping me up and just saying, oh my God, that's so sweet that you brought him to the doctor. Go, dad. I have taken her every single day since the day he was born. No one ever told me, go, mom.
Summer, this is triggering even for
Don't
me
trigger
as
myself.
not, and I'll tell you what it's called. It's called the patriarchy. I feel like I've experienced the patriarchy in all levels throughout my life. I think it's one of the reasons that I went to therapy. But I think that there's so many people that can resonate with your frustration, Summer. And I hope that we have some husbands, some boyfriends that are listening and really seeing the double standard here, because it's a big one.
And there's so much patriarchy. I've had elder relatives when I'm on FaceTime with them after a day of working and taking care of my baby, being like, I'm sure your husband's going to be home soon and you probably want to go get ready and put makeup on. And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm going to hang out here in my sweatpants, bare face, because that's what I do every day. Back in the day, I don't know about in your culture, but like in India and Pakistan, and maybe even still, there is this whole concept of they get dolled up before their husbands come home. And little things like one time someone commented to me and said, while they were at my house, that you should clean up the toys and the dishes and everything before your husband gets home from work so he doesn't have to worry about cleaning this up. And I'm sitting there like, well, I was with the baby all day cooking, sitting for the bar exam, all while working, managing these four things in one day. If he has to come home and pick up a few toys, I don't think it's a big deal. And obviously, my husband never put that pressure on me. But next thing you know, it impacted my brain in such a way that I found myself scrambling to be cleaning up the house and the toys and to make the house look picture perfect when he walks in. And it put so much pressure on me. I started getting so exhausted. I was crying one day and he was like, I never asked you to do that. I never put that pressure on you. Don't listen to other people. Don't let the outside voices get to you. And it's crazy because the way society says and does things really does impact us as women. And it's so important to be careful about what you're saying and what narrative you're setting, because I would never want my daughter to feel the way I was feeling in those few months.
Yes. And I want to ask something. I've seen things, social media, other friends. You have a baby, then one parent is expected to go to work or keep working fully, and then the other parent kind of stays home. Sometimes it's a stay-at-home mom slash balancing your work. So it's kind of like what you did, right? You stayed at home and you were also working. It's kind of like, oh, well, the husband gets home and gets to relax because he just spent the whole day at work. In my mind, actually, I spent a whole decade taking care of kids. That was what I did before what I'm doing now. I worked at a daycare at a preschool, and it was so taxing to care for a child. And I only had the day shift, right? From 7 o'clock to like 6 o'clock. It was like 10 kids between me and another worker. And I'll tell you, that taught me so much about children and the level of attention, constant needs. There's no break, there's no nap. When they're napping, you're doing something else, or you're just taking a moment to breathe. So there's no rest, right? And so I'm thinking, yeah, that's not going to happen. If I'm the one staying at home, I want to feel like, okay, when my partner gets home, they're helping. I think that working, leaving the house, that's your break. And so tell me what you think. Am I the only one here that thinks this?
I know work is stressful, right? But he gets to have normality. He wakes up every day, same time, takes a shower, freshen up, get ready for work, looking nice, and then go to the office, come back home. By then, my son is already bathed, fed, everything. So he does story time and sleep now. So it's like you spent the whole day away from the noises, the screaming, the diaper changes, from all the demandingness that these little toddlers have. And they're no joke, these tantrums. I mean, it'll be like 10-0. He's winning every time. Because at that point I just give out. And it's easier for me now because he's in a school program, but still my every day looks so different because he'll wake up sometime from 6:45 to 7:30 to 5:15. So I can't plan my morning.
And when the partner goes to work, it's like, okay, you get to talk to adults, to talk to other beings. You have a social life to a degree. You get to go to the bathroom by yourself and not get followed. You have these moments of peace, like you mentioned, the way I look at it, when or if I ever get there, right? Like you have your moment. You get to have a commute where you get to just kind of sit still in silence for 10, 15 minutes. Your break.
And you get to listen to music that you like. Like my morning commute is Happy Dance, Baby Shark. Like it's so funny. When I drop him off, I start blasting my music. But even then in the morning, I've sent you pictures. I make this kid breakfast and I love it. It's so cute. But it's also just like, damn, can I get a minute? Bring his whole breakfast into the bathroom and just sit there and watch. Then he's pulling the toilet paper, hitting the wall. There's strawberries going on the floor. I can't even go to the bathroom in peace.
And in order to have the bandwidth for you to do that every day, right?
Every morning.
There needs to be a break for you in the evenings, at night. You need to have a moment to be like, okay, this is my little moment of me time, podcast time, whatever you decide to do.
Yeah,
like that is your
podcast was such a break. I mean, and that's one thing, right? With me trying to find pieces of myself again, a more balanced, level-headed space of motherhood where I do have rhythm. This space where I feel like myself again and I get to connect with you. It's truly so recharging and it feels like my me time. I love to talk to people about things, and this has been an idea on my mind forever, and so is yours. A lot of people tell me the podcast is a waste of time. You should be putting your energy somewhere else. But why? This is my passion. This is my way of finding myself again. This is what I want to do, not what anyone else made me do.
This is like you taking time to write in your journal, to go to a meditative class. This is your outlet, my outlet too. But you're right. There's this pressure of you're not going to be able to function for everyone else if you're functioning for yourself in this one space, Summer, type of thing.
Absolutely. I mean, there is so much to unpack with motherhood. Honestly, even this past February, it was my first time ever leaving my son for the whole day. Do you remember? And I found the strength to do that with you. It was a lot. I was still checking my phone, asking my mom to send me videos of him, even though he was with his grandma, having the time of his life. I was still caught up with it, but I wasn't so much as I would have been in my early days of motherhood. So honestly, to all you new moms out there, I just want to say you're doing an amazing job. It's so easy to get caught up in the chaos and feel overwhelmed. But remember that every little thing that you do matters. Your love, your sacrifice, your strength do not go unnoticed. Do not let society tell you otherwise when they applaud your husband or your partner over things instead of you. And know that it's okay to ask for help and take time for yourself. If there's one thing I could change, it was I wish I would have asked for help more. I would even feel guilty and hesitate asking for help from my husband when I needed something. It wasn't until the point that I was having a mental breakdown or crying that he would need to step in to help because I never expressed to him that I needed help. And you're not alone in this journey, and you're more than enough. Just keep pushing through and know that you are seen and appreciated for everything that you do. And motherhood is so, so beautiful. I enjoy every single day watching my son grow, learn things, watch little things that he does, going from crawling to walking to running, learning to say words, to clap. My husband and I, all of our conversations, even on date night or before bed, revolve around looking at pictures of him, old pictures of him, new pictures of him, just talking about him. And it's such an unimaginable joy and love. So I hope this episode didn't leave you scared with all the challenges, but I think that motherhood is surrounded by this beautiful, glowing aura already. So I didn't feel the need to go deep into how beautiful this journey has been for me. I wanted to highlight the fact that there are challenges. And so you just gotta run with the waves.
I love that, Summer. I think that's exactly what people need to hear. And we started off with that, saying that there's this narrative about everyone talking about all the positive things and leaving out the struggles once and after you have a baby. So we really appreciate you opening up and telling us about your journey.
Yeah. I mean, it's been really nice to have this conversation. And again, I'm so glad that the narrative in society is starting to slowly change, whether it's through TikTok or Instagram or lighthearted jokes that people are making to just be relatable. We're finally talking about these things. We're opening up. The more honest of a dialogue we can have about this, I think people feel more prepared about what's to come.
100% agree. And thank you so much for opening up. I hope that our audience took some words, some empowerment from this conversation because it sure empowered me, and really looking forward to talking to you about a lot more things. But thank you everyone for joining today's episode.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other platform you listen to podcasts on. As Chicas and Chai, follow us for more content on Instagram at Chicas and Chai Podcasts.